Welcome back. Here's your latest Sacramento area housing market update. I tend to make this video once a month, so I want to talk about what's happening right now regarding home sales for brand new houses as well as existing houses as well. We're going to talk about price reductions, home sales, housing inventory, and of course, home prices as well. If you guys get any value out of today's video, then please hit the like button. Also, consider subscribing as well. I post frequent housing market updates so you guys can be more informed. With that said, let's begin. The most recent trends I have regarding new home sales is actually this right here, which is posted on September 11th for the month of August. This is from the North State Building Industry Association. And of course, like all my videos, I'll provide a link in the video description below for this article. So it says new home sales in August rebounded to the second highest level for the month since 2004. So we saw a lull of activity regarding home sales of brand new houses in July, in part due to the fact that rates were still relatively high then. But on top of that, we had really hot July this year. Absolutely insane. A lot of days over 100 degrees. Anyways, their members, which are builders in the greater Sacramento area, reported selling 605 houses during the month this August in the region. That was up by a whopping 40% from the only 433 home sales that were reported for July. So a giant increase compared to the previous month, up by 40%. On top of that, the long-term average for the month of August in the region is only 406 sales, whereas this month we had 605. So therefore, home sales this August were about 50% higher than the long-term average for the month. So builders are killing it right now. This year's monthly sales were the most during an August since 633 sold during the pandemic year of 2020, and were the second highest since 874 sold back in 2004. So therefore, the sales of 605 this August is the second highest over the past 20 years in the region. North State President and CEO, which is Tim Murphy, said the rebound in sales was due to the continued demand for new houses, the continued scarcity of resale houses. I'll share some data regarding that because inventory is up greatly from 1 year ago though. And the fact that mortgage interest rates have been trending lower in anticipation of the Fed cutting rates in September. And it's actually true that mortgage interest rates were decreasing in August. We went from about 7.3 to about 6.4% in August. So rates decreased greatly in August, which could spur this activity up by 40% month over month. But that's not everything though, because a lot of builders that I know in the greater Sacramento area are offering all these incentives to home buyers. That could be a free closing cost credit. In other words, they give you $5,000 to $15,000 as a closing cost credit, which means that your out-of-pocket expenses on buying a brand new house decreases by that amount. On top of that, they're also offering these crazy incentives for a 30-year fixed rate. In this case, this builder is offering a 30-year fixed rate at 3.5%. Unheard of regarding the resale market for houses that are not brand new. Also, this builder, which is Woodside Houses, is offering a 2-1 buy down at 3.75%. So this is a 2-1 buy down, which means during the first year, your interest rate would be 3.75%. The second year, 4.75%. And in year 3 through 30, your interest rate would be 5.75%, quite a bit lower than the rates we're seeing today. Also, Taylor Morrison is also offering a very low 30-year fixed rate at 4.5% or 4.58% APR. Just looking at our greater region here, there's approximately 215 communities in the region. And on top of that, there's approximately 1,718 new houses actually for sale. You can get a new house, for example, a 2-bedroom in Elk Grove for starting at $607,000, but a lot of houses for sale in the region right now. And by the way, if you guys want to look at a really good resource to search for brand new houses for sale, that is newhomesource.com. I'll provide a link in the video description below. But my advice for you guys, don't go to the sales office without a real estate agent. Contact your real estate agent, go to the sales office, get signed in, because if you don't do that during your first visit, the builder doesn't allow you to be represented by your own agent. And they are not going to give you like a bigger closing cost credit if you don't use an agent. So I highly advise you guys, if you are interested in buying a brand new house, link up with your agent. And that's true, of course, in my area or anywhere across the country. In the Sacramento region, they broke down sales for August going back to February of 2022. So, pause this, screenshot it, and please let me comment below with your thoughts. What's your biggest takeaway regarding this? Mine is this right here. So again, there's around 600 houses or new houses that sold this August, which is lower than the peak that we saw back in, when was this? January this year. But look at the trough we saw in 2022 when mortgage interest rates were increasing from about 3 to about 5% by the time we hit May. And in July, for example, when we tend to see a high amount of activity, back in July of 2022, there was only around 150 houses that sold. Now there's 600, which is absolutely insane. A big increase from the lows we saw back in the second half of 2022. Now these figures are not seasonally adjusted. So let's take a look at sales for all Augusts going back to August of 2014. So 605 home sales this August, a little bit lower than the 633 we saw back in 2020. But at 605 houses that sold, look at 2014, only 184, 2015, 245. It has been increasing steadily since then, but a decrease in 21 and 22, of course. But sales over the past 2 years in August have been relatively strong in the region. One more slide I want to share with you guys regarding new houses. This is a look at new home sales this August by price range. There was only 23 home sales for over $1 million. In contrast, the vast majority of home sales in the region were in the range of $550,000 to $600,000. And that represented around 24% of all home sales this August in the region. All right, let's change gears slightly here and talk about the resale market. In other words, excluding brand new home construction. So I want to look at the share of price reductions here first. And this is according to altosresearch.com. So for the nation as a whole, around 39% of all homes for sale have reduced their asking prices. So around 4 of every 10 homes for sale have reduced their asking prices. 39% on a national level. In California as a whole, it's actually lower than that at 33%. This, by the way, is for the week ended October 4th, 2024. For Sacramento, California at 33%. Sacramento, we're higher than that at 43%. Let's go below and take a look at this. So the share of properties with a price reduction at 43%, a little bit higher than the same time frame last year at basically 40%. But at 43% right now, this is way lower than the highs we saw 2 years ago at around 52.5%. What really stands out to me back then, the trough was more or less March 4th, 2022 at, let's just say 14%. And by the time we hit the first week of October, it surged to around 53%. Therefore, 2 years ago, the share of price reductions quadrupled in only 7 months. In contrast, this year, the trough was back in March 29th at 25%, and now it has only increased to about 43%. So a big increase or a big run up in the share of price reductions 2 years ago. This year, we are seeing more or less a seasonal increase right now. Also at 43%, we're obviously higher than 21 and 2020, but we're also higher compared to pre-COVID levels back in mid-October at around 41%. All right, that was a share of price drops. Let's have a look at some other metrics according to Redfin's data center. Let's look at new supply in the market or new listings. That increased by 15.3% year over year. So we have approximately 15% more new listings to hit the market over the past 1 month. This, by the way, is for the 4 weeks ended October 6th this year. So new supply in the market up by 15% and pending home sales rose by 6.1%. So new supply increasing at a faster pace compared to home buying demand, up by 6.1%, but lower than the past couple of years, 2022 and 21. Let's look at inventory, which is active listings. the total number of houses actually for sale, excluding brand new houses, is up by 35%. It is lower than 2022 though, because back then we had around 5,600 houses for sale. Now there's around 5,400 homes for sale. What we should expect for the remainder of the year is for inventory to kind of go like this because inventory tends to peak in the late summer months and then decrease for the remainder of the year. In regards to that, let's take a look at home prices based on the median sale price. We're up by 2% year over year. 584,000 is our median sold price. 1 year ago, we're at 575,000. Also, if I were to exclude 21 and 2023, you can see how different this year is compared to 2022. The peak then was more or less in May when our median sold price was 614,000. And by the time we hit this time that year, which is right about there, it decreased to 551,000. That represents a decrease of around $63,000, a sharp decrease compared to the peak that year. Now looking at this year though, it has decreased from 604,000, now it's at 584,000, a decrease of only about $20,000 compared to 63,000 we saw in 2022. Back then, of course, we had inventory piling up because mortgage interest rates were doubling in less than 12 months. That caused this correction we saw in 2022, which is much different compared to what we're seeing this year. And lastly, let's have a look at the average sale price to final list price ratio in Sacramento. That's at more or less 99%, which means out of all the houses that did sell over the previous 1 year, or 1 month, I should say, they sold for 1 percentage point less than the seller's final list price. This is higher than 2022, when the share was at 98.7%, but actually lower than last year this time when the share was more or less at 100%, which means back then homes on average sold for the seller's asking price on average. We're also way below 2021 this time, when back then homes were selling about 2% over asking. With that said, if you guys are interested in buying a house or selling a house in the greater Sacramento area, you can please email me at jason@meetjasonwalter.com. My team and I would love to help you. And of course, you can go to my website, which is realestateteamfinder.com. I'll provide a link in the video description below for all these articles and of course my contact information as well. Hope you guys have an awesome day. Thank you so much for watching today's video. I appreciate you, and we'll see you in the next video.